Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are listening in from, watching. Welcome in. How's it going, guys? We're live. This is Mikey Wine here, aka Gundamonium Works, part 5, I think we're on. Yeah, part 5 of the 148 resin Macross Tomahawk. And I've got a lot of the primary colors down now. Last week, I was kind of in the middle of priming and fixing and priming and fixing and doing all that. So I didn't have a lot to show on camera. So that's why we did a little snap project in the middle there. What's up, Ron? Good to see you, my friend. So now I had a chance to catch up and do some painting. And now I'm starting to plan. I got to do a lot of masking. So that's what we're going to do tonight. It's going to be showing off various masking techniques. I know it doesn't seem like it's kind of mundane, but it's a very important part of painting, and a lot of people would call that masking hell, but it can be hell at times. But this is a rather large kit, not a lot of crazy stuff that I need to to mask off, but I will be doing some of that and showing you some of the products I use, including regular old masking tape, the cutting table, Parafilm, stuff like that. Anyway, let me show you a little bit what I've done so far. So some of the parts you can see here, this is the primary color that the kit is going to be now. It's this, I'm using the same sandy brown that I used on the M1A1 Abrams. That's what I decided on. I was trying to decide between these two colors. This was number 4410 and then number 19 sandy brown, and I thought, in keeping with closer to the anime, it's more of a yellowish color versus a tan, so I went with 19, and that's what you see here. Yeah, so anyway, let's get started. There is a couple things I've been thinking about, and including the cockpit. I'm just going to show you. This is the main body section here. These are not glued in yet. In fact, I missed painting the top of this. I'm going to have to do that in gray, but I've got to mask off a lot of these areas so I can paint the other colors that have to go on here. There is a little bit of gray that's got to go back here. Some black in these vents, not on the vents, but around the inner part of the vent nozzle. And then I've also got this heat exchanger, whatever, exhaust vent. I've got to mask that off too, and then also around the cockpit area, because there's some other things that are going to go on in here. And just to show you what's going on with this is the missile pack. I went with closed missile doors instead of using the actual missiles with the open doors, and the main reason was I didn't like the way the missiles fit. They didn't fit that well. There was a lot of cutting and sanding and stuff that I would have to do to make the missiles fit in here. So, and not to mention, I had to trim these doors down and kind of readjust the hinges where the hinges lined up on the sides just to get them to sit straight. But this one will be going on this side here. And you can see I've already painted it with the pre-shade. And then the other side is the searchlight, which will go on this side. So starting to look like a Tomahawk. And eventually I will glue these on. But for now, because I still have quite a bit of masking and some detailed painting to do, I want to make sure that I don't have too much just in the way. So I'm going to leave that alone. But talking about the cockpit, I did decide that I'm probably going to order another standing pilot from Shapeways, the exact same one that I ordered for the hanger diorama that I did with the 148 Valkyrie. As you can see, this is the resin pilot that came with the kit. Nice little Valkyrie pilot. Very similar, in fact, to this is the original Black Aces pilot that was supposed to go in the 148 Valkyrie, but I decided to do the cockpit open without a pilot in the seat. And as you can see, this is the exact pilot that he used for the resin kit. All he did was cut the arms and reposition them to make them more appropriate to this type of cockpit. Now, that being said, the cockpit itself, this piece is actually a 148 Valkyrie cockpit, including the ejector seat and everything else. Now, I have some photo etch that I would normally use for a Valkyrie cockpit, and I may end up using these just for this. And now you've got these pieces here. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There are these long panels, and those would go on either side of this cockpit. So basically what I would have to do is I'd have to shave down all the raised areas with the exception of the left-handed side. There are some thrust levers that will remain, but there's going to be some modification to the photo etch. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do that. I may just end up hand painting all the details in here. There's another portion of the cockpit as well. This goes on the front, and that also has all the video screens inside. So there's quite a few differences between this and a regular Valkyrie cockpit, but I haven't decided if I'm going to use a photo etch. The photo etch should be easier as far as like the detail and the painting, but there's really not going to be, it's not going to be as visible as a Valkyrie cockpit would be. So I'm kind of leaning towards just hand painting these details versus using up a nice piece of photo etch that I normally have, because this is made for the TV version, cockpit for any of the 148 Macross Valkyries. This was a nice photo etch set I bought from Dream Model, and it's for the Hasegawa kits in particular. And I've used one. In fact, I used one on the Black Aces Valkyrie, and it worked out really, really well. I was able to actually backlight that console as well because the way those layers stacked up. There's actually 3 layers to the display console on that. So what's up, Angel? You lighting this thing up? No, Ron, I am not, because there would just be, it's a solid chunk of resin. There would just be way too much drilling and to figure out even where to run wires or batteries, or for that matter, or anything. So this will not be lit up. I plan on doing something similar to the Valkyrie I just did, which will be some kind of a hangar, getting ready for deployment kind of thing, with the pilot standing on the ground in front of it, walking toward it. That's the plan. Little plans change. Hey, George, good to see you, my friend. We're just getting everybody caught up here on where we're at. And so I probably won't, actually, I know I won't be using any electronics at all with this. It's just way too hard with the amount of resin there is. And there's no way. It's just solid. I'd be drilling massive holes through the whole thing just to try to get access for wiring and stuff like that. And I don't have it would be great, like the screens in the cockpit. That would be cool to light up the screens, but then I would have to basically rebuild the entire screen because it's all just giant pieces of resin. There's no clarity. The only clear pieces are the lights and the nozzles, the lights and the visor. There's just nothing else. I mean, even like this, the searchlight. This is a solid. There was a hole. It was hollow in the back. But then where do you run the wires? It's just, there was too much. In a perfect world, yes, I would light it up, but there's just no way to do it on this kit. So not that I want to spend that much time doing. I mean, anything's possible, but I'm just not going to spend that much time doing it. So what I want to start doing is, I got some masking to do. This is the foot here. I'm going to be masking off all these pads so I can paint those a different color. I've got quite a few pieces to do, not just tonight. Probably won't get through all of it for sure. One of the things I did actually get done, well, not quite, almost, was the the gun barrels. These stripes were already, the grooves were already put in the barrel, and because I was using a black primer as my pre-shade, I just went ahead and my 2mm masking tape masked those stripes off perfectly, and I'm just using that second layer of black primer as my color for that. So once I seal that, I've got a little bit of masking to do here because there's a gray portion that's got to go on the hinge. I've been trying to stay on top of your Tomahawk. Yeah, I know it's difficult with the time change, or with the time difference, I should say. You guys, the back east and stuff, I get it. It's tough, but I do appreciate you coming in and saying hi tonight for sure. So anyway, well, I just left those black, and then I taped them up before I painted the brown color on there, and that worked out really, really nicely. So both of those are almost done. There's a little bit of masking to do there. As far as this is the back of the cockpit. So yeah, I'm going to have to mask all this off. I'm going to pull these back out. I've got to mask off basically all the brown areas so I can paint these inner areas. Once these come out, you can kind of see there's quite a big hole here. I'm going to be doing black in the back, but the fronts will be in a darker gray color. And once that's done, then I can glue those pieces in. I still have to paint all the missiles. Let's see. I got the leg portions done. This is the upper thigh with the hip joint here. And this was some of those that had those huge air bubbles. Those were all fixed, and they came out really, really nice. Before painting, I made sure that they were sealed up and good before I finished my last round of primer. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to show you guys some Parafilm. I don't know if anybody here uses Parafilm. This is Parafilm. This is a box I bought on Amazon. It's 4 inches wide. It's 125 feet, and I will probably never run out of it. You can buy this is 125. You can buy a 250-foot roll as well. You do. Yeah, that's good. You do because you know me. Yeah, I know. I get it. So, what is Parafilm? Parafilm is a great way to minimize the amount of masking tape used when you're doing larger projects kind of like this. Parafilm is normally used in like laboratories or the medical industry. It's like a really thick kind of a cling film. Sticks to itself but will not stick to your paint. And this is a small piece of it. And I like the 4-inch roll. You can get this in a 2-inch roll, which would just basically right down the middle. You cut this in half, and that's basically what you get. But what you do is, see, like for the heel sections here, we get it all at the same time. Yeah, we do. I know, we figured it all out. So I masked off the pads here on the heel section, and then rather than have to cover this entire thing in tape, I took a strip of Parafilm, just dropped it, took a strip of Parafilm, and wrap it around the rest of it. So now I can paint these without worrying about any overspray. And when I'm done, I just peel this stuff off. It just comes off like cling film. And you can do that for pretty much anything. I did that for the knee sections here. You can see these here where I had to paint these. There was a pin that went through here, through the leg, for this to pivot on. But after I glued the pin in, I had to sand that down, fill the hole, and then prep it for painting. So now you can't even see where the pin used to be. But because these were painted, I didn't want any overspray going in there, so I had to wrap them in Parafilm. And that way I could paint those without worry. So that's the idea here. And I'll show you what this stuff is. There's some backing paper on it. Just going to put my stinking glasses on here. So after you cut off whatever strip you want, and I'll demonstrate this later, but this is just a smaller piece that I didn't use. So once you can get the paper to separate, there we go. So you peel off the backing. And now you've just got a piece of, it's like stretchy, it stretches. It's just opaque, kind of a plastic feeling, like a thick, like I said, like a cling film. And just to demonstrate kind of what you do with it, and I'll peel this back off, but this is one of the heel sections I'm going to cover up eventually, is just place it on there and wrap it around. Kind of stretch it out as you go. It'll stay nice and tight. And it just sticks to itself. And when you're done, just peel it off. And it won't damage your paint, especially on resin, because of course resin is a challenge anyway, just with painting alone. Surface prep is the biggest key with resin painting, because if you don't get all the mold release off and other stuff like that, you have a difficult time getting your paint to stick, and sometimes your paint will, or your tape will draw up paint. I had a little bit of a problem with that on these back vents, and realistically it was only because I didn't quite let the paint cure. I painted these vents and I got back to it and I started masking them off so I could paint the rest of this before it actually sat overnight and dried. So when I pulled my tape up, some of my gray paint came with it. It was an easy touch up, but it's just kind of one of the things you deal with when you deal with resin and masking. And for that matter, plastic will do the same thing, but typically resin is a lot more sensitive to that kind of thing. I want to put this photo etch back before I lose it. Back in the pack here. So I wasn't sure. I have a bunch of these for a lot of the various Valkyries I have in my backlog. I wasn't sure I wanted to sacrifice one for this. I may do that, but it looks like because of the way he designed this cockpit, he kind of shaved down the sides and added some plastic strip and stuff to a couple areas. So it might be a lot harder to modify that photo etch rather than just paint it. So probably going to end up painting it. And painting it. It rules. How long did the paint sit? You said one day. The vents, I actually only let them sit for probably an hour, to be quite honest. What's up? Nick's in the house. I just missed you. Sorry, I see you're there. How you doing, Nick? I was moving pretty fast when it came to these here. The other stuff sat a lot longer than that, but these two vents I forgot to paint, so I went ahead and did those really quick before I started painting the brown, and it really didn't sit very long. It didn't sit long enough. It was less than a day for that. The rest of the stuff sat pretty much a day. Like if you look at this gray vent here, under here, that was over 24 hours, and that was flawless when I took the tape off of those. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off these areas that are brown, because I want to leave these either black or my darker gray color that I'm using, so I can get rid of that overspray. But I got to tape all that off. So I got some little tedious work to do. Now, what I use is, this is a God Hand glass masking cutter mat. Basically, you put whatever tape you want on here, and you can use your razor on it. It doesn't scratch the glass. You cut the tape off, use your tweezers, and it cuts down on a lot of the waste as far as masking. I think it was worth the little investment. I'm sure there's bigger ones out there, but you see some strips here. This is like maybe 25 millimeters wide. This might be 20 millimeters. You can put whatever you want on here, and just depending on what you're masking off, and customize it as you go. I've got a little burnishing tool here for some of the tighter areas. It's just a soft rubber tip. So if you get a piece like in those vents, you can tuck it in there and use this to press your tape down and do that. So I guess you now have to paint something so I can try. Yeah. Oh, you're going to paint it, George? You're going to try out Parafilm? Yeah. I believe me, this stuff's a lifesaver. I think, if you don't have it, go on Amazon right now. You can find it. This roll here is about $38. You can get the 250-foot roll for about $65. I don't even think you need that. I mean, this is 125, and I've probably used maybe 10 feet of it, maybe more. I don't even know. But this will last you probably a lifetime, just because you're using it in such small quantities. You're cutting off, a couple inches at a time, really, and then covering up your projects, whatever pieces you're doing. So, anyway, enough of that. I'm going to set this aside. It takes a little bit too much of the bench space. We're going to start going. I'm going to work on the bottom of the feet here. First, I've got both of them to do, and then the heels here. Actually, I can do the heels so I can show you the Parafilm too. So I'm going to do one of these heels first. And these are spaced out almost 3 mil apart. So it's actually perfect for my 3 mil tape. And I just need a few strips. Actually, I've already got 2 of them already cut here. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape this off. And then once I get the bottom of this taped off, I'll show you how the Parafilm works. So this is like 3 mil. It's almost perfect distance here, or width. I don't have to do any other trimming or have to use multiple strips of tape. And this is what the burnishing tool is good for. It's just for getting down in there and pushing that tape down into those grooves. Make sure it's fully down. You don't get any accidental overspray when you start painting, because I'll be using that number 13 color, the number 13 Mr. Color. It's like a medium gray is what I'm going to be painting these with, even though they're really not going to be seen that much because they're on the bottom of the feet. But I thought it would be a nice touch to have that there for, because I'll know it's there. It's kind of like when you used to paint a pilot, a master grade pilot, and you throw them into the, into the chest of your Gundam fully painted, and then you seal them up and you never see them again. It's like, why do you do that? Well, because it's there. It doesn't matter if anybody's ever going to see it again. Let's see here. I got, this will work. So I'm using this grid. There's a grid on here that's done in 10 millimeter increments. And then there's some dash lines that splits that up into 5 millimeter increments. So it makes it nice when you're measuring your tape off. You can just use a little ruler like I have and cut off a few strips. And that way you're minimizing your waste. Because I think I have these little tape dispenser rolls, where you pull them out and rip them off. But it seems to be like at the end of the day, you just end up wasting so much of that. The whole idea is to be, a little more precise and some nice clean edges, straight cuts. So I'm just going down here, and there's a little bit of a lip, so I'm using my fingernail. I could use the burnishing tool as well. I just want to make sure that is down up against that pad. Burnishing tool is a great idea. Yeah, there's a set of them. You can buy these on Amazon. If you guys are wondering which ones to get, Tim Harkins, Child of Mecca. If you go on his website, you can find his Amazon list of items that he has used and purchased. And that's pretty much where I found it. I went on there. You can find the burnishing tool set if it's still available on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it is. And go straight to, use his links and go straight to the Amazon website and buy this stuff. I pretty much only used 1 or 2 of them, to be honest, but it comes in a set of different style tips. This is the one I use most often, and it's just a flat. You kind of see the tip of that there. It's just flat, kind of cone shaped, but flat. And it's a soft rubber, so it's not going to scratch your paint. and it's not going to damage anything when you're just using it to basically press that tape down. Okay, so I got 2 strips of 3 mil in the middle. The rest is done with this 25 millimeter. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 25 millimeter. Oh, so 22, 25. Anyway, that boxed off. So I've got all this extra up here that's not covered. Rather than use a bunch of tape on that, what I'll do here is I take my Parafilm. Let's pull out a bit. Get your scissors. I don't need much. So I'm going to cut a relatively thin strip. This is about 3 inches maybe. Okay. So I got this little strip here. Again, this stretches. So as long as you don't pull too hard, it won't rip off on you, beforehand. So pull the backing off. Now you've got this nice little strip. So I'm going to hold that on the front here and then kind of just pull. And as I'm pulling, it's stretching it around to get a nice tight fit. Keep going around. Okay. There we go. So basically now everything is covered up with that Parafilm. And again, it won't stick to your, there's a little bit open here, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to be painting from this side anyway. So I'm really not worried about the very, very top. But you could cover that up if you really were concerned about it. But so now I can go ahead and paint this without worry about getting any overspread or anything like that. So I can do that one more time and then just throw the paper away. I think Tim's Amazon list is down. Oh, that's a bummer. I used it quite a few times, but Tim's been kind of off the grid for a while, so I wasn't sure. Wish it was still there. But anyway, you guys can search it. Search for burnishing tools or something like that. I'm sure something will show up in the list of items available. I don't have the original packaging anymore. Otherwise, I could pull it back out and kind of show you, but I don't even think I have the original. I bought 2 of them. One of them was a larger set. It had some bigger tools, but the small ones are actually nicer for what we do. Pull too hard and it turns into Spider-Man's web. Yeah, that is true with the Parafilm. If you do stretch it a little bit too aggressively, it will just tear on you. But you'll get the feel for it. It's not too bad. This is a bit narrower. I might have to use a piece of 2 mil here. I'm going to stick this back on the glass. This pad must have been done, or this foot must have been done separately because this one's a bit narrower. So I'm going to use a piece of 2 mil rather than 3 mil tape on this one. There. What's up, Tom? How you doing? Yep, I need to order some. It's been in my cart for a while. I know, isn't that the truth, right? You get something you see and you're like, oh, I really need that. And you put it in your Amazon cart and it sits there for a year. What really sucks is when you go back to it and it says this item is no longer available from the seller that you chose because you waited too damn long. We got quite a few people in the house tonight. Very good to see each and every one of you. Thank you so much for popping in. I did check in with Moscato Models today and asked him how the gouge was coming. He did an update just a few minutes ago, actually. It's coming along good. It looks like the molds are going to be done soon. So hopefully we will see a finished kit ready to ship in a couple of weeks, I hope. We'll see. I don't know. At this point, I just think I want him to take his time. Because I don't want to have a repeat of what this kit started out as. It was really kind of discouraging to see the some of the imperfections. Oops. Particularly with a kit, if with this kit that this expensive, it's just. I mean, obviously, you can't expect perfection. It's not going to be perfect, but you should. The amount of defects should be minimized if a little bit of extra care is taken during the production process. I mean, think about it. I've spent over $1,000 Canadian in the last couple of months on his models. So I don't do that ever. But like I did say, if the gouge comes out anything like this one did, then that'll probably be the last time I buy them all from them. Unfortunately, it's just too much money for the amount of work. It shouldn't have to go into the. So I'm going to cut a little bit longer piece on this one, just because the last one went a little short. So I'm just going to go a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. It should have been 3D printed instead of cast. Yeah, that might be true. It's hard to say, 3D printed, I imagine would definitely come out better. But it's not. It's obviously being done by hand. Oops, I lost my. There we go. So I'm just running a piece of parafilm around this last of the heel sections here. There we go. All right. There's still some touch-up work that will have to be done, because there's some vents in the back. Those need to be painted, but a lot of that stuff some people would prefer, like especially Tim. He airbrushes everything, so the smallest detail he'll airbrush. He does not hand paint anything. For myself, I will hand paint the small stuff. I mean, some really tiny things, yes, I will do. It depends. Sometimes it's easier to airbrush it if you can get to it with masking and do it properly, but other times it's just not feasible. It's just much easier just to hand paint them. Could have been cheaper, and they could have gotten a lot more sold. Yeah, you might be right, Tom. That's very true. I've seen his stuff in the past, and to be honest, I just wasn't in the position to buy his stuff then, as opposed to how I am now. I'm in a better spot, and I could afford to spoil myself a little bit there as far as that's concerned. I'm hoping it shows up around November, because that would be great for around my birthday. It's like Angel's sending me a link on my phone here. I'm not sure what it's for. I'll have to check it later. But it's just kind of sticker shock a little bit when you expect. I guess maybe the expectation was a little higher than what I got. I know this is a garage kit. I know it's handmade, but yeah, I do agree. There were some really, really glaring flaws with it. But again, nothing I couldn't fix, especially with the tops of the legs. There were some really bad ones there, but I fixed all that. There were some holes and pinholes and air bubbles and things. All stuff is fixable, but some of them were pretty severe and required a lot of filling with CA glue and resin dust. That actually worked out great. I used the leftover resin dust and made a putty with it and filled. Especially, let's see, was it this one? I can't remember. One of the tops of the legs was really, really bad on one of these, and it filled nicely. It's all filled up. Let's see, maybe it was this one. Hard to tell now. I can't tell now that I've painted everything. But you wouldn't know there was a giant air bubble in the tops of one of these now, because I filled it and had to do about 2.5 rounds of primer. So most of the stuff was fixed right away. There were some other parts that I thought were fixed with the first round. Sprayed them again and realized that my holes were not, whatever blemishes or whatever were not covered up. There was also some really deep scratches, like from the manufacturing process. You talk about stuff that's nice, got paint down already. Yeah, I know. It's all one color. It makes it a little bit easier, because there's really just one big giant. It's one big giant kit that only has about 3 or 4 colors. So there's not. This is the primary color, so everything was painted the same except for these missile hatchets here. Now these are going. Shit, I just dropped that one. That's okay. I know these are. I have them. I don't have them labeled, but I think one of them fits better on the side. So I haven't decided. I want to have these open, or at least I might have one open, so you can see the missiles. But so yeah, that's the only real different color was these hatches here for the missiles. And I keep dropping them. I'm going to end up damaging my paint. So I think I may have this side. I may end up closing, and then this side open. I don't know. What do you think? Or maybe have them both open. I don't know. Just so you can see all of those missiles in there. So as you can see, there's a gap here in the back so I'm going to paint this black, because I don't want those areas to be seen. I don't want people. I mean, I know they're going to be able to look in there, but if I paint it black, that'll kind of make it harder for anybody to see any of the casting like inside. I'm not going to fill all those areas and try to cover that up. It's just a matter of disguising it a little bit. So, yeah, other than that, it's mostly that 110 color and then this the dark gray. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to start working on the bottom of this foot now. Oh, is Tom out? You got to enjoy. Later, see you in the AM. Okay, Tom. Good to see you, man. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate you. Appreciate each and every one of you. So we're just going to start this masking process. Yahoo. Again, I really don't have to do this. This is the bottom of the feet. I plan on seeing the bottom of the feet, but at least if someone looks from the side, it really gets down and dirty and looks from the side, you'll see these gray pads under there, I guess. What's up? Manny's in the house. How you doing, McDo? Good to see you. What's up, Crusher? How are you? No one else is making these kits. No one else is building them, or no one else is making them. That, I guess, would be a true statement for both. And, Johnlin's in. Simply masking tip. Don't mask at all. Just throw paint on it. Well, now, Johnlin, you have a different style of painting. Different than anybody that I can ever think of. So, yes. Yeah, I understand why you're saying don't mask, because you don't do any masking. But the rest of us that aren't going for the abstract, actually might need to do some masking. So I'm just cutting off. I got 3 strips of 3 mil tape here. I'm cutting off 20 millimeter strips. because that'll pretty much cover all the little gaps in between these pads as I go. Yeah, to both. Yeah, I know, Crusher, right? Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it right away. You know, when I decided to finally buy this, I was in the middle of finishing another project, but it just was too tempting to. Once it showed up, I was like, I gotta build it. This will be my next project. There's just no way I was going to do something in front of it. Not to be the first one building it, but just so I could also review it. You know, I don't see anybody else talking about it either. That's the thing. I'm curious to know if everybody that received one of these has had similar issues with their castings, because obviously they're not all going to be the same. Each casting would have its own fair. I couldn't be more fair, right? If you guys get a chance to check out John Lynn's builds, go to try looking for creeping freely for you. Look for her on Instagram. I don't know if you have. I think you have a Twitch as well, or no? I don't remember. But some really, really interesting paint schemes and abstract type designs, but typically with all Gundam models. I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, John Lynn, but I don't remember if you branch out into other genres other than the Gundam universe, because I know you do a lot of Gundam models. But yeah, check it out. She's got some really, really cool stuff. I'm psyched. I'm psyched for the 172 Glouge. Yes, me too. And I was just talking about that earlier. And if the Glouge is anything like this one, you know, then I'll be heartbroken, really, because I think, you know, I'm hoping this is just a one-off. As far as like the reason why there were so many imperfections with this kit. Not yet. I do have some Star Trek ones that I'm planning on actually building normally. Oh, nice. To be honest, I haven't been doing much fun lately. Oh, you know, I get it, gentlemen. I go through the same thing. Every once in a while, it's like a creative block or whatever it is, you know, that it gets, or sometimes just life gets in the way. Real life comes first. You know, this is ultimately just a hobby in the end. I don't do this for money. I don't do it professionally unless somebody wants to. You know, I do commissions every now and then, so I can't say I don't always not. I mean, it's not my job. In other words, when I do it for money, if somebody's paying me to build them something, but I still have a regular job. I still do, you know, everything like that. So sometimes you get in a creative funk and you just don't feel it. I remember building one of the Zaku Warriors, and I had a whole big, you know, a fancy idea what I was going to do. I was going to make a hanger and do all this cool stuff, and then after I snapped the kit together, I just like, the inspiration or the motivation kind of went out. It just went out, and so I had to do something different. It happens. Okay. So I've masked off in between these little feet here. I've still got to do the heel segment, the back, the middle. These are the heels, really, but I mean the back half of this foot and all these places in between. But now that I've got these little pads separated, now it's just a matter of blocking out the rest of the areas. So and I try to use up every last little piece of tape, you know. Sometimes I'll cut odd strips off as I'm doing this with the glass, the cutting mat, but I'll always come back and try to use up that tape. Yeah, this isn't going to work. I wanted it to, so I'm going to cut that in half. I think these glass mats are nice, especially some people use like I said, they put tape on their actual cutting mat. It's just hard because your knife blade goes through into the cutting mat when you do that, whereas the glass it's just going to cut right on the glass. It's not going to leave. It's not going to leave it cut. It's not going to also. It's also going to cut a lot cleaner than if you just if you cut it on a cutting mat. I think that's what the whole purpose of this method is, to get a cleaner cut, just like any kind of cutting guide. You want a clean edge. So I might have to put down. I got to look at my kind of tape I've got. I might just end up using a lot of 3mm. I bought a bunch of rolls of this, so I do have a surplus of this 3mm. So instead of using a wider tape, I'm just going to be stacking some of this 3mm up, because it's the gap here is actually wider than 3mm. So I've got to kind of overlap. I looked it up. Cool shit. George Clinton's mobile suits. Oh, nice. Second the feeling on the glass mat. I have the same one, and I use the PE parts. Yeah, that's a good idea. I've never actually used that for PE parts, but yeah, that would be a good use for it too. I guess it depends on what you're using to clip your photo etch parts out. I typically cut those on the mat, but I use a really, really sharp razor, X-Acto. But I guess that also depends on the manufacturer of the photo etch, because a lot of times those little tabs that hold the photo etch pieces on can be quite thick. George Clinton's mole suits. Oh, nice. Is this something Ron, what are we talking about here? I don't think I've ever heard of this guy. Is it something like what she's doing along the abstract line as far as the painting techniques and stuff like that, or am I missing something? Or are we talking about her Star Trek stuff? You tell me. Yeah. I was going to say, Crusher, have you seen the update from Moscato today on the gouache? He's actually got in his hand, he's holding one of the, he had a mold problem. One of the molds split on him and created a kind of a tough blemish on the big main gun barrels for the gouache, and so he had to redo the mold. But I just wonder if you saw that. Because I talked to him this morning. He was telling me he was going to do an update, but I didn't realize it was going to be today. I thought maybe, okay, we'll see one in a day or two, but no, he just did it a couple hours ago. This is not cooperating. I was trying to cut a little corner off this, get this tape to sit down a little easier. Just a tiny edge here. It's kind of being a bitch. All right, I'll just have to put another piece on. Her stuff. Oh, George says what the LED's saying. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm telling you, some of her stuff is wild. I mean, really, all of it is, to be honest. That's all crazy cool. And I don't think there's anybody out there doing anything like that. Her stuff is very, very unique as far as that's concerned. There's no other artist doing anything like that. Still working on the bottom of this foot. There's actually quite a few strips that are going to go into this, so it's going to take some time to build around all these. I think I need to pull out some 1 mil. I've got a 1 mil roll here. Put a couple of strips down of this. I primarily use 1, 2, and 3. Actually, here's a piece of 1 mil already. I'm going to take another strip here and just put this down on the mat and get ready to use it. I never thought I'd use 1 mil until I saw a roll of it at a model competition one time, and I thought, all right, let's buy some. And now I find myself using it quite often. I mean, it's really nice for the fine detail stuff. I'm just looking at how long I need a piece here. So 3, 4, about 5 centimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut another one there. All right, now we're good to go. Yeah, really, Jonlin. How many Haros do you have now? Do I dare ask? No, she's got a bunch. Including one of the 1-to-1 scale. She also did one of those in an abstract type paint scheme. Trying to get this 1 mil tape down just to get it to stick, and then I got to go over it with one other piece because this gap is slightly large. It's smaller than 2 mil. I'm getting some paint lifting already. I just saw that. I lifted my tape up. So this must be one of those areas that didn't quite get cleaned enough as far as the mold release on the bottom. But again, I can touch that up later. I'm not going to go, especially on the bottom of the foot. I'm not going to spend all this time cleaning and repriming it. I'm just going to hit it with some paint. It'll be fine. 100 plus. Good God, woman. Including the ones you sold. Well, geez, that's a lot. That is crazy. All right, so instead of taking out some odd tape here, I'm going to just cut off some 10 mil pieces of this, and then I'm going to cut them in half. Just so I can roughly, I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I don't care. I'm not going for perfectly in half, but I want to have some smaller pieces here that I can just stack up around these little foot pads. As long as I get the whole bottom covered, I can paint it. I'm not worried about the sides so much. I mean, there will be some of my tape overlapping. I just hope that whatever little paint, that I had that just pulled up a little bit on the bottom doesn't do the same thing on the sides. I was really good about cleaning this stuff really well. I soaked those overnight in a little bit of a diluted solution of purple power. I didn't do 100%. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sure, but based on the type of resin that he had, I wasn't sure how it would react to that degreaser. So I was really just trying to get it strong enough to clean well, but not be too overly caustic. So, but I scrubbed each piece with a toothbrush when I took it out of the cleaner before I rinsed everything off. And ever use tape for curves? Yes, I actually have some here. Did you see this white tape here? This is the Tamiya masking tape for curves. So I do have some of that for that type of application, but right now it's all straight angles, so I'm not using any curves. Although I probably will need some for this here on the back of the, let me take off this base here. Whoops. Oh shit. That was stupid. Where'd my, oh, there's one. Took it off upside down, so all my pins fell out. So on the back of the waist here, there's a nice curve. This is going to be gray. So there's a nice curve there that I could probably use that tape on for sure. Other than that, it's mostly just straight angles. So I'm not... this is the first time I've ever used this thing. I've been trying to find a use for that little holder. I finally found a use for it after all these years. So right now I'm still just covering up all these. It's actually quite a bit more than I expected. I thought this would go fairly quickly, but there's just a lot of little things that need to be covered. Once I get the inside's done, the outside will just, the perimeter will go quickly. All right, so I may end up, let's see, that looks like 3 mil there. Just going to take a couple of those off. I want to watch that part. Never use that tape. It's just the material it's made out of. It's not super complicated. Ron, it's like a rubberized type tape, and it's Tamiya, so it's good quality. And it just, you're able to kind of position it. You can, if you need to correct it, you can lift it and make a correction. Doesn't it's not hard to work with, but it's because of the material it's made out of. You can do those complex curves and not because regular tape it just wants to kind of fold, but with the Tamiya stuff you can actually press it down, and because it's that rubberized type of a feel to it, it will cover that up nicely. So let's see here. I think I need to put down. This is a larger roll of tape. I'm going to squeeze this right in here next to my 2 mil. This wide tape, you gotta be careful with it because when you pull it off the roll, it leaves some of the glue sometimes on the back of the roll, and that could be problematic when you're trying to paint, because sometimes that stuff creates these little balls of glue. You got to get that out of the way. So I put that larger strip on here so I can cut off some decent size cover up a fairly large area. I've been doing the 450 small squares and oh yeah, when you do it that way, yeah, you got a lot of little pieces. Is that what you're talking about, Ron? And then you just start stacking them up. That'll work too. I mean, sometimes you got to do it that way. But yeah, if you're able to use the Tamiya stuff in, the Tamiya comes in different widths. This is like a 3 mil, and then I have a 2. I think I might even have 1. Let's see. No, it looks like I've only got 3 and 2, and then I've got wider stuff. And now let me pull these off of the roll here. I've got hooks with all these tape rolls up here. So here is my Tamiya. So I've got a roll of 2 mil, 3, and then looks like 5 and 10. I don't even know what the 10's for. I haven't even used it yet. Still got the tape on it. It's probably one of those impulses like, oh, I should buy that because I don't have it. Never really knowing if I was ever going to need to have a use for it. And then I got some scribing tape there as well. This is a 3 mil scribing tape. And this looks like a 5 or 6 mil scribing tape. So use a lot of it. Use most of it. Sometimes not as frequently as others, but push all this stuff back on there. There we go. Get back to business. All right, I need let's see here. All right. It's taking a while for one stinking foot, isn't it? All right, a couple more. Let's see. There's one of those little glue balls. What happens is it gets on the glass mat, and then when you roll out another piece of tape, you end up with this ball of glue underneath it. Makes it kind of a pain in the ass to last one. This should cover everything up for the most part. I may have to go a little bit around the outside edges to make sure I cover up any possible overspray issues, but I think I've got most of it done. There we go. Yeah, so now I've got that completely covered. It's on the bottom. I'm still going to run a little bit around the sides here to make sure I don't get any overspray, but pretty good to go. And that's why I got this big roll here, just because I can cut off some pretty large pieces and cover quite a bit of an area at a time. And because this is just flat, I mean, I imagine there's just no way to wrap this with parafilm because of the way this comes to a point. I have no way to hold on to it while I'm wrapping it, so that's why I'm using tape. This is one of those instances where parafilm won't really work. I mean, you might be able to finagle away, but I think at this point it's just easier to grab some tape and go. Oops. There we go. Ooh, I got a little bit too interest there. This is right where these are, right on the front of the toe here. There's a small little area. Okay, I think I'm going to have to put a short little piece around the corner of this just to. It's a tiny little lip here, so I'm trying to position this so I can just fold it over. I think that's why they call this masking hell, because it just takes, it's very time consuming work. But ultimately, the end result is the payoff. That would be the Kings game. Get ready to start. For those of you hockey fans out there, it's opening week. Hockey season. I need a new razor blade. If I had a new one, that would cut right through that. There. All right. I think I'm good now. Now I just gotta maybe actually I'm gonna get a new blade. I want a new razor blade just so I don't have this issue. I've been using this quite a bit, so I want to be able to cut my tape without my blade even slowing down. Because this one is slightly dull, start over with something new. All right. Now I should cut right through that. Yep, just like I said. There. I was trying to go around that corner, but it was overhanging, and I couldn't get it to fully lay down until I hit it with some with that sharp blade. That just took care of it. It takes extra long with me. Nah. Derailing you? No, that's no big deals there, Ron. I just have to make sure that I look up every now and then to see, make sure I'm not missing something in the chat. Make sure everybody's is that no, there's tape on there. Okay. Thought I missed a little corner. Nothing like pulling your masking off later and then realizing you totally missed covering something up, and then you see it just completely oversprayed. You're like, oh, great. Touch that up. So I'm just going to run one more strip along the back here. Might need a small piece. Yep. And then I've got holes drilled in the bottom for my sanding or my skewers. All right. So now let's take this. Right back in there, and now we're ready to paint. One down, one to go. I got a bunch more masking to do. I want to mask all this off so I can paint this. I think I'm going to do the dark gray or black. I haven't decided yet, because I want those areas. I don't want those areas seen, but it's kind of like the inner frame of a regular model kit. You want to see the armor on the outside, whatever color that is, but then the inner frame will have a different color to it. So that's what I'm going with there. So yeah. This week is going to be spent doing a lot of this masking. So we'll see. Next week might be one of those, another one of those. Well, I don't have any new content to show you, so I'm going to snap build that K2SO. I'll start do that again for an hour. Try to make sure I have something new to show everybody, week by week, but it doesn't always work out that way. Depends on the project. So now that I kind of got a feel for how I did the first one, this one should go a little bit quicker, but I'm not too concerned about absolute perfection here. Again, this is going to be on the bottom of the foot. I'm not going to see it. As much, if any. These are almost perfectly 3 mil. Actually, once I get the tape in there, it works out great because it falls right into that groove. And then I just take that burnishing tool and tuck it in. Fits in there nice. All right, get some more cuts here. I'm going to have to replenish my 3 mil tape here shortly. Just wait. So I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to watch the Kings tonight, but they're doing it on TNT and I don't have cable, so it's like I can't watch it on ESPN. So it's like, okay, so how do I watch it? Well, either I go after I get done here, do I eat dinner and then go to a bar down the street? I may end up doing that. We'll see. Only hockey fans will understand. All right, we'll get moving right along. So I think if you're interested in one of these glass mats, there may be more different brands out there. This is the God Hand version. I think if you're a modeler that, someone who is big into the hobby, or at least enough to where you'll use it, I think it's well worth the investment. Definitely. Especially if you're airbrushing and do a lot of painting, I think it's worth it. You might save a little money in the process too, because you're not wasting as much tape the old-fashioned way, Just making a little bit of an adjustment here on this last little bit, trying to get it to. There we go. Just trying to get it to go around that corner. It's right where all these points come together. It's the most difficult spot because there's not much there for the tape to cling to. So I'm trying to get it to sit down and stick, and at the same time I got to get it to go around that corner. Do it this way this time. There we go. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I guess it did. At first it seemed like maybe not, but there we go. I think I got it now. All right. That toe's a bit tricky right there in the front. All right. Now we're almost to the point where I need more 3mm tape. So how did everybody's hump day go so far today? I mean, we're on the West Coast here, so I imagine everybody's done working for the day, hopefully. Today was kind of a mellow day for me. We had an unusually slow. We were busy in the morning, but afternoon was a bit light, considering we're usually slammed most of the day. Hope everybody's hump day was good for them, though. All right, I need to replenish my 3mm. So I use a lot of that, so I'm just going to grab the roll. Actually, that's 2. Where's my 3? There it is. Almost time for a new one. Where's the end? There we go. I'll do multiple rows of this because it's easier just to cut off 3 and 4 pieces at a time rather than just putting one strip down and cutting that one multiple times. At least this way I get my measurement. I can just go. All right. So like this, just cut across all 4, and then we're done there. It's been a good one. Work is relatively smooth, and now I'm eating apple pie. Oh, must be nice. Apple pie sounds really good. I still need to eat dinner. My wife was making it when I was getting ready to do the show. And just simple, but she's we're making some nachos, but she's making a nice topping for that, some onions and all sorts of cool shit. So once we get done here, I'll go enjoy that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of those. All right. So yeah, I gotta have some nachos tonight. Should be good. Yeah, I know your job can be pretty complicated sometimes, huh, George? It's like, I think you're in a supervisory role, right? As far as like doing, isn't it stuff like smart homes and stuff like that where you have electronics and oh, come on, this 1 mil tape is okay, but sometimes it doesn't stick, and I'm trying to get it to just get in positions I can tap it down, but it sticks once I tap it down, but it's just initially it's like, come on, screwing with me. And we'll hold it down with some 3 mil. I posted a few pictures today, the progress report on this. On a lot of the Macross forums. I didn't hit up the Macross World forums. I guess I could have put it there too. Well, I did, but I didn't put it there first. I did it on the Return to Kit forum page first on Facebook. I have not done an Instagram update yet. That will come later. What's going on? My phone is blowing up. Oh, just somebody checking out my page. No big deals. Me, I'm a grunt. Technology for homes and businesses. You're a grunt. Oh, I guess that makes 2 of us. I'm a technician. I fix cars. I turn wrenches, and that's what I've been doing for the last 30 years. And believe me, I am beat up. See, I'm going to cut 2 of those. We'll come back to that. Yeah, I'm definitely not as fast as I used to be. I remember when I started in this industry, you smash out a bunch of work and just of course we weren't making as much then, but you just blast through it and You might be a little tired, but that's about it. Now it's like, good God, man. End of the day, I'm just beat up. So this is my relaxing time. This is the time where I can just decompress and do this and talk to some nice people and kind of what you do in the morning, what George does every morning too. Some nice camaraderie between model builders, maybe people that not necessarily model builders but are interested in it, and we just come in and maybe teach somebody a new something new they may not have known. That's the whole idea. I know a lot of this stuff, some of the stuff I do here, especially tonight, it might seem mundane, but there may be somebody out there who's new and can find this information very useful. So I hope that works out. The shit we could do if we were younger. Yep. Oh, I know. Just even for me getting down to set the lift, to lift a car up sometimes, it's just like, good God, man, what happened? I used to be able to just slam to the ground on my knees and set the car, not a care in the world. Now it's like, I got to get down slowly on both hands. Oh, yeah. Fun. Oops. Back hurts. Legs hurt. It's like, oh, man. Shoulder. Blew a shoulder out. Not too. Well, that was my own fault, though. That was a couple of years ago. I was trying to put something in my overhead storage by myself, and I should have had help, but there was nobody there, and I just wanted to get this thing done and get it up in the air. Yeah, and that was not a good idea. So yeah, I heard it pop. I knew it was not good, but I dropped this giant box. It was basically a canvas tent inside of a box, and I dropped it knowing that my shoulder was hurt. But then I just said, you know what? I got to get it up there, and I did it anyway. Struggled through the pain and got it up there anyway. But boy, did I pay the price. I mean, it's still not 100%, but at least I'm functioning now. But I know there's some damage there. Heading downstairs to spray. Have a great night. Okay, Ron. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you. We'll see you later, my bud. All right. A lot of these guys are doing minis now. It's really kind of taken off that whole thing. All right, I'm going to put a few more pieces here to cover this up, but I'm pretty close to being done with this piece. Actually, cut that in half. 7:30, so it's almost time to call it a night anyway. Time check, 7:30. So we've been at it for an hour and a half. I'm going to cut a couple more pieces and then we are done. So anyway, I hope this has been somewhat useful for those who might be thinking about ideas on how to be a little more efficient maybe when it comes to masking and paint prep and stuff like that. Almost had it. Normally I use my tweezers for most of this, but the big pieces I'm just kind of laying down there. All right. I'll just do a couple more here on the front and we'll call it. All right. Just to cover up this. Two more. Shopping with Mike soon will be there's shopping with Mike soon there'll be sponsors. Well, let's hope so. That would be cool. I haven't got any sponsors right now. I just good to see Drew, man. Good to see you. It's been a while. Unless you snuck in a couple of times without without saying hello, and maybe you've been there, maybe you haven't. But yeah, good to see you too, my friend. All right, there we go. All right, so both of those are done. With that, we are going to call this one a night. Thank you, each and every one of you that stopped in to join me and talk in the chat, and yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. This is why I do this all the time, is to share our skills and techniques and stuff like that with those out there, and also just to talk and have a good time. Enjoy the hobby. That's what we're here for. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be good humans. We'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.